In the middle of a busy city, surrounded by towering buildings and constant noise, stood a modern office building. The glass walls of the structure sparkled under the morning sunlight, catching the attention of anyone who passed by. Inside, the atmosphere buzzed with activity. Employees moved quickly through the hallways, some carrying stacks of papers, others typing furiously on their laptops. Meetings were held in almost every conference room, and the sound of ringing phones and clicking keyboards filled the air. It was a place where ambition thrived, where dreams of success pushed people to work harder and faster. Among the sea of faces in this bustling office was a man named Rajiv. He wasn't one of the executives or managers who commanded attention in meetings. He wasn't even part of the team of developers who spent hours coding intricate programs. Instead, Rajiv worked behind the scenes, unnoticed by most. His job was simple, yet essential. He kept the office clean. Every evening, after the majority of employees had left for home, Rajiv began his shift. Armed with a mop, a broom, and a cart full of cleaning supplies, he made his way through the building, ensuring that everything was spotless by morning. Rajiv had been working at the company for over 10 years. During that time, he had become a familiar figure to those who stayed late or arrived early. Yet despite his long tenure, very few people knew much about him. To most, he was just the janitor, a quiet man who did his job efficiently and without complaint. They didn't realize that beneath his calm exterior lay a world of hidden talents and untold stories. Rajiv was more than just a cleaner. He was someone with a deep love for music and an extraordinary ability that very few could match. Every night as Rajiv worked, he found solace in singing. Cleaning was often a solitary task, and the silence of the empty office sometimes felt overwhelming. To fill the quiet, Rajiv began humming tunes to himself. Over time, these hums turned into songs, and soon he was singing entire melodies as he cleaned. His voice was rich and soulful, capable of conveying emotions that words alone couldn't express. Whether he was mopping the floors or dusting the desks, Rajiv's singing transformed the mundane act of cleaning into something almost magical. What made Rajiv's singing truly remarkable, however, was not just the beauty of his voice but also the variety of languages in which he sang. Growing up in a small village, Rajiv had always been fascinated by languages. Books, movies, and music from different parts of the world had captivated him from a young age. With limited resources, he taught himself how to speak and understand multiple tongues. Singing became his way of practicing and perfecting his skills. Each language brought its own rhythm and melody, and Rajiv embraced them all with equal enthusiasm. On this particular evening, Rajiv started his shift as usual. The office was eerily silent, the only sounds being the soft hum of the air conditioning and the occasional creak of the floorboards beneath his feet. As he pushed his cart down the long hallway, he began to sing. First came a Hindi song, its lyrics filled with longing and nostalgia. The notes flowed effortlessly from his lips, echoing softly against the walls. Then, without missing a beat, he transitioned into a lively Spanish tune, his voice dancing with energy. Next was a romantic French ballad, followed by a cheerful German folk song. Italian, Mandarin, Japanese, Russian, and finally English. All 9 languages blended seamlessly together, creating a symphony of sound that seemed to breathe life into the otherwise empty building. Unbeknownst to Rajiv, he wasn't entirely alone that night. Arjun, the CEO of the company, had returned to retrieve his forgotten laptop charger. A tall, well-dressed man in his 40s, Arjun was known for his sharp mind and relentless drive. Under his leadership, the company had grown exponentially, earning recognition both locally and internationally. But tonight Arjun wasn't focused on business strategies or quarterly reports. Instead, he stood frozen in the shadows, listening intently to the music that drifted through the corridors. At first, Arjun thought it might be a recording playing somewhere in the building. But as he followed the sound, he realized it was coming from the direction of the main hallway. Curiosity pulled him forward until he saw Rajiv, mop in hand, completely absorbed in his singing. Arjun's jaw dropped in disbelief. The janitor, the same man who cleaned the office every night, was performing what sounded like a professional concert. What shocked Arjun even more was the sheer number of languages Rajiv was using. Each transition was flawless, each pronunciation precise. It was as if Rajiv had lived in every corner of the globe, absorbing the cultures and traditions of each place. Arjun couldn't move. He stood there, hidden from view, letting the music wash over him. There was something deeply moving about the scene before him. Here was a man, doing a job that many might consider ordinary, yet pouring his heart and soul into something extraordinary. The juxtaposition struck Arjun profoundly. In a world obsessed with titles and achievements, Rajiv reminded him that greatness wasn't always tied to position or power. Sometimes it resided in the simplest acts, the ones we often overlooked. When Rajiv finally paused to take a breath, Arjun stepped out from the shadows. "Excuse me," he said softly, unsure of how to approach the situation. Rajiv turned abruptly, startled by the unexpected voice. Seeing the CEO standing there, he immediately stopped singing and lowered his gaze, his face flushing with embarrassment. "Sir, I'm sorry if I disturbed you. I didn't think anyone was still here." Arjun shook his head quickly, a look of awe still etched on his face. No, please don't apologize. That was incredible. How do you know so many languages?" Rajiv hesitated, clearly uncomfortable with the sudden attention. He glanced at his mop, then back at Arjun, searching for the right words. Finally, he shrugged and replied, "It's something I've done since I was young. Music helps me learn better, so whenever I pick up a new language, I practice songs in it." The explanation was simple, yet it carried so much weight. Arjun wanted to know more, to understand how someone with such talent ended up sweeping floors in an office building. But instead of pressing further, he simply nodded and smiled. "Thank you for sharing your gift with me tonight, Rajiv. Truly, it was unforgettable." With that, Arjun turned and walked away, leaving Rajiv standing there, bewildered but grateful. As Arjun made his way back to his office, his mind raced with thoughts. He couldn't shake the image of Rajiv singing with such passion and skill. It wasn't just the languages or the quality of his voice that impressed Arjun. It was the humility and sincerity behind it all. Rajiv didn't sing for applause or recognition. He sang because it brought him joy. And in that moment, Arjun realized that he had stumbled upon something rare and precious. A reminder that true talent doesn't need a spotlight to shine. The next morning, Arjun arrived at the office earlier than usual. His mind was still replaying the events of the previous night. He couldn't stop thinking about Rajiv's voice, the way it had filled the empty hallways with warmth and emotion. It wasn't just the singing itself that had left such a deep impression. It was the realization that someone so talented could go unnoticed for so long. Arjun felt a mix of emotions: admiration for Rajiv's gift, guilt for not noticing him sooner, and excitement about what this discovery might mean. As he settled into his chair, Arjun opened his laptop and stared at the screen without really seeing it. His thoughts kept drifting back to the janitor. What else didn't he know about Rajiv? How many other hidden talents might be lurking in plain sight within the company? Arjun had always prided himself on being a leader who valued every employee, but now he wondered if he had fallen short. He decided then and there that he needed to learn more, not just about Rajiv, but about how the company could better recognize and nurture the unique skills of its workforce. Later that day, Arjun called a meeting with his executive team. The group gathered in the conference room, exchanging curious glances as they waited for their CEO to speak. Arjun leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table, and began explaining what had happened the previous night. At first, his team listened with polite interest, nodding along as he described the unexpected encounter. But when Arjun mentioned that Rajiv sang in 9 languages, the room fell silent. Eyes widened and a few jaws dropped. No one had ever suspected that the quiet janitor possessed such an extraordinary ability. "Are you serious?" asked Priya, the head of human resources, breaking the stunned silence. 9 languages? That's incredible." Arjun nodded, his expression serious. I'm completely serious. And it wasn't just the number of languages, it was the way he sang. He has a natural talent, something that can't be taught. I think we're missing out by not giving people like Rajiv a chance to shine. The room erupted into murmurs of agreement. Everyone seemed intrigued by the idea of tapping into untapped potential within the company. After some discussion, they decided to take action. They would invite Rajiv to participate in an upcoming international conference hosted by the company. Representatives from various countries would attend, and communication barriers often posed challenges during such events. Who better to help bridge those gaps than someone fluent in multiple tongues? When Arjun approached Rajiv later that week, the janitor looked both surprised and uneasy. Me? Speak at a conference? Sir, I'm just a cleaner. I don't belong. On stage, Rajiv protested, shaking his head vigorously. Arjun smiled warmly, trying to reassure him. Rajiv, your abilities are exactly why you belong there. You have a unique gift, and it's time the world sees it. Despite his initial hesitation, Rajiv eventually agreed to give it a try. Deep down, he felt a flicker of excitement at the thought of sharing his passion with others, even if it scared him. Over the next few weeks, Arjun worked closely with Rajiv to prepare for the conference. They met regularly, going over speeches and practicing presentations. Arjun encouraged Rajiv to incorporate music into his performance, knowing it would make the presentation even more memorable. Together, they crafted a plan that highlighted Rajiv's linguistic skills while also showcasing his love for singing. Slowly but surely, Rajiv's confidence began to grow. Though he still doubted himself, he found comfort in the fact that Arjun believed in him. Meanwhile, word of Rajiv's upcoming appearance spread throughout the office. Employees who had once walked past him without a second glance now stopped to chat, eager to learn more about the man behind the mop. Some asked how he had learned so many languages, while others expressed admiration for his courage in stepping outside his comfort zone. Rajiv, though initially overwhelmed by the sudden attention, began to feel a sense of belonging he hadn't experienced before. For the first time in years, he felt truly valued, not just for his work but for who he was as a person. As the days passed, anticipation built around the conference. Posters advertising the event featured Rajiv's name alongside those of prominent speakers, and whispers of his multilingual talents circulated among attendees. Even outside the company, curiosity grew. Local news outlets picked up the story, dubbing Rajiv the singing janitor and praising his journey from humble beginnings to international recognition. The spotlight, once so foreign to him, began to feel less daunting. On the morning of the conference, Rajiv woke up feeling a mix of nerves and excitement. He carefully dressed in a suit borrowed from Arjun, smoothing out imaginary wrinkles as he stood in front of the mirror. His hands trembled slightly as he adjusted his tie, but a deep breath helped steady his nerves. Today was the day he had dreamed of yet never dared to imagine, a day where his voice would carry beyond the empty hallways of the office and reach people from all corners of the globe. When Rajiv arrived at the venue, he was greeted by a sea of unfamiliar faces. Delegates from different countries mingled in the lobby, exchanging greetings in a cacophony of languages. Rajiv recognized snippets of conversations in Hindi, Spanish, French, and several other tongues he knew. For a moment, he felt out of place, wondering if he truly belonged among such accomplished individuals. But then he remembered Arjun's words. You have a unique gift, and it's time the world sees it. With renewed determination, Rajiv straightened his shoulders and walked toward the auditorium. Inside, the stage loomed large and imposing. Rows of chairs stretched out before it, each one occupied by an expectant audience member. Rajiv took a seat backstage, clutching a glass of water as he waited for his turn to speak. Speakers came and went, delivering impressive presentations on topics ranging from global trade to technological innovation. Each one received polite applause, but none seemed to ignite the kind of spark Rajiv hoped to create. As his name was announced, he rose to his feet, heart pounding in his chest. Walking onto the stage, Rajiv was momentarily blinded by the bright lights, but as he scanned the crowd, he saw familiar faces, Arjun, Priya, and even some of his co-workers from the office. Their smiles gave him strength, and he stepped up to the microphone. Taking a deep breath, he began with a simple greeting, switching effortlessly between languages to welcome attendees from different nations. The audience responded with murmurs of surprise and delight, clearly impressed by his fluency. Encouraged by their reaction, Rajiv launched into a medley of traditional songs from each culture represented in the room. His voice soared, filling the auditorium with melodies that transcended language barriers. Whether he was singing a soulful Hindi ballad or a lively Italian folk tune, Rajiv poured his heart into every note. The audience was mesmerized, their eyes glued to the stage as they absorbed the beauty of his performance. By the time he finished, the entire hall erupted into thunderous applause. For Rajiv, the ovation was overwhelming. Tears welled up in his eyes as he bowed deeply, grateful for the opportunity to share his gift with the world. Backstage, Arjun greeted him with a proud smile. "You did it, Rajiv. You were amazing." Rajiv chuckled nervously, still processing the magnitude of what had just happened. "Thank you, sir. I couldn't have done it without your support." That night, as Rajiv returned home, he reflected on the whirlwind of events. From being an unnoticed janitor to becoming the star of an international conference, his life had changed in ways he never thought possible. Yet amidst all the accolades and newfound fame, Rajiv remained grounded. He knew that his true purpose wasn't to seek glory, but to inspire others, to show them that greatness could come from unexpected places. And as he drifted off to sleep, he felt a profound sense of fulfillment, knowing that he had touched hearts across the globe with nothing more than his voice and his love for languages. The days following the conference were unlike anything Rajiv had ever experienced. The office buzzed with excitement, and for the first time, Rajiv found himself at the center of attention. Employees who had barely acknowledged him before now greeted him warmly, stopping to chat or congratulate him on his performance. Some asked about the songs he had sung, while others wanted to know how he had learned so many languages. Rajiv, though initially overwhelmed by the sudden interest, began to enjoy these interactions. He realized that people weren't just curious about his talents, they were genuinely inspired by his story. Word of Rajiv's success spread beyond the office walls. Local newspapers featured articles about the singing janitor, highlighting his journey from a small village to international recognition. Social media posts praising his performance went viral, with people from different parts of the world sharing their admiration. Strangers reached out to him, sending messages of encouragement and thanking him for reminding them that greatness could come from unexpected places. Rajiv read each message with a mix of awe and gratitude, still struggling to believe that his voice had resonated so deeply with so many people. Back at work, Arjun wasted no time in capitalizing on the positive momentum. He called another meeting with his executive team to discuss how they could integrate Rajiv's talents into the company's operations. "Rajiv isn't just a janitor anymore. He's an asset," Arjun said firmly. "We need to create a role for him that reflects his unique abilities." After much deliberation, they decided to appoint Rajiv as the company's cultural ambassador. His responsibilities would include fostering global connections within the organization, assisting with international projects, and even leading workshops on language learning through music. It was a position tailored specifically to Rajiv's strengths and one that allowed him to continue doing what he loved. When Arjun broke the news to Rajiv, the janitor was speechless. "Sir, I don't know what to say," he stammered, clutching the mop he had been using when Arjun approached him. "This is more than I ever dreamed of." Arjun smiled, placing a reassuring hand on Rajiv's shoulder. "You've earned it, Rajiv. This is just the beginning for you." Though Rajiv accepted the promotion with humility, he couldn't help but feel a twinge of nervousness. Would he be able to live up to the expectations? Could he really balance his new responsibilities with his passion for singing? Despite his doubts, Rajiv threw himself into his new role with enthusiasm. He started by organizing informal sessions during lunch breaks where employees could gather to learn basic phrases in different languages. Rajiv made these lessons fun and engaging, often incorporating songs to help participants remember vocabulary. His cheerful demeanor and patient teaching style quickly won over even the most reluctant learners. Soon, the sessions became one of the most popular activities in the office, drawing crowds of eager attendees. Rajiv also played a key role in preparing the company for international collaborations. When executives traveled abroad for meetings, Rajiv provided them with insights into local customs and etiquette, helping them navigate cultural differences with ease. During video conferences with overseas partners, he acted as a translator, ensuring smooth communication between teams. His presence brought a sense of warmth and authenticity to these interactions, earning praise from both colleagues and clients alike. As weeks turned into months, Rajiv's confidence grew. He no longer hesitated to share his ideas or take initiative in group discussions. His co-workers, inspired by his dedication and humility, began to see him not just as a colleague but as a mentor. Young interns sought his advice on career growth, while seasoned professionals valued his perspective on teamwork and perseverance. Rajiv's influence extended far beyond his official duties. He became a symbol of hope and possibility within the company. Outside of work, Rajiv's life underwent significant changes as well. Invitations to speak at events poured in, ranging from corporate seminars to community gatherings. Each appearance gave him an opportunity to inspire others, reinforcing his belief in the power of music and language to unite people. He often shared stories from his childhood, recounting how books and cassette tapes had sparked his love for learning. These anecdotes resonated deeply with audiences, many of whom saw themselves in his journey. One particularly memorable event took place at a school in a low-income neighborhood. Rajiv had been invited to perform and talk to students about the importance of education. As he stood on stage, looking out at the sea of young faces, he felt a lump form in his throat. Growing up in a similar environment, he understood the challenges these children faced, the lack of resources, the pressure to prioritize survival over dreams. But he also knew the transformative power of determination and self-belief. "I wasn't born with any special gifts," Rajiv told the students, his voice steady yet filled with emotion. "I worked hard because I believed in myself. And if I can do it, so can you." He then sang a song in multiple languages, encouraging the children to join in wherever they could. By the end of the performance, the entire auditorium was clapping and cheering, their spirits lifted by Rajiv's words and music. Teachers later reported that several students had shown renewed interest in their studies, inspired by Rajiv's example. While Rajiv thrived in his new role, he never forgot his roots. Despite his growing fame, he continued to clean the office, every evening finding comfort in the familiarity of the task. To him, it was a reminder of where he had come from and how far he had come. His co-workers often teased him about it, saying he didn't need to work so hard anymore, but Rajiv simply laughed. "Cleaning is part of who I am," he would reply. "It keeps me grounded." Arjun watched Rajiv's transformation with pride. The janitor who had once blended into the background was now a beacon of inspiration, not just for the company, but for everyone he encountered. Arjun realized that Rajiv's story was a testament to the importance of recognizing potential in unlikely places. It challenged the traditional notions of success and reminded everyone that true greatness wasn't defined by titles or positions. It was about making a meaningful impact. By the end of the year, Rajiv's impact on the company was undeniable. Employee morale had improved significantly, thanks in part to the cultural initiatives he had spearheaded. International partnerships flourished, bolstered by Rajiv's efforts to bridge communication gaps. Even the office atmosphere felt lighter, infused with a sense of camaraderie and shared purpose. Rajiv's presence had transformed the workplace in ways no one could have anticipated. Yet through it all, Rajiv remained humble. He never sought recognition or accolades. His only goal was to use his talents to make a difference. Whether he was teaching a colleague a new phrase in Mandarin, translating during a high-stakes meeting, or simply humming a tune while mopping the floor, Rajiv approached everything with sincerity and joy. His journey served as a powerful reminder that greatness often lies hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone to notice and nurture it. As the year drew to a close, Rajiv reflected on how much his life had changed. From being an unnoticed janitor to becoming a celebrated figure, he had experienced highs he never imagined possible. But what mattered most to him wasn't the applause or the accolades. It was the knowledge that he had touched lives, inspiring others to believe in themselves and their dreams. For Rajiv, that was the greatest reward of all. The new year brought fresh opportunities for Rajiv, and his role as the company's cultural ambassador continued to evolve. His days were now a blend of responsibilities that kept him constantly engaged. He spent mornings assisting executives with international projects, afternoons leading language workshops, and evenings cleaning the office, a routine he cherished despite his elevated status. Rajiv often joked that mopping floors helped him stay connected to reality, but deep down, it was more than that. It was a reminder of his journey, a way to honor the path that had led him to where he was today. One morning, Arjun approached Rajiv with an idea that would take his influence beyond the company's walls. "Rajiv," he began, his tone brimming with excitement, "we've been invited to collaborate with a global nonprofit organization. They're working on educational programs for underprivileged children, and they want you to be part of their campaign." Rajiv blinked in surprise, unsure if he had heard correctly. "Me? But why?" Arjun smiled warmly. "Because your story inspires people. You've shown that anyone can achieve greatness with hard work and passion. Who better to motivate these kids than someone like you?" Though hesitant at first, Rajiv agreed to participate. The nonprofit's mission resonated deeply with him, reminding him of his own struggles growing up in a small village. Over the next few weeks, he worked closely with the organization, recording videos and sharing his experiences. In one video, he sang a song in Hindi, Spanish, and English, explaining how music had helped him learn languages. In another, he spoke about the importance of education, urging children to dream big despite their circumstances. These videos were shared widely, reaching schools and communities across the globe. The response was overwhelming. Teachers wrote to Rajiv, thanking him for reigniting hope in their students. Parents shared stories of how their children had started showing interest in learning after watching his videos. Rajiv received letters from kids, some written in shaky handwriting, others filled with colorful drawings. One letter stood out. A girl named Meera from a remote village in India had written, "Dear Rajiv Uncle, I want to be like you when I grow up. I didn't think I could do anything special, but your songs made me believe I can try." Reading her words, Rajiv felt a lump rise in his throat. He realized that his voice wasn't just entertaining, it was transforming lives. Back at the office, Rajiv's involvement with the nonprofit sparked a wave of enthusiasm among employees. Inspired by his efforts, many volunteered to contribute to the cause. Some offered to tutor children online, while others organized fundraisers to support the program. Even Arjun joined in, using his network to secure additional resources for the nonprofit. What started as a single initiative quickly grew into a company-wide movement, uniting everyone under a common goal: to make education accessible to all. Rajiv's schedule became busier than ever, but he didn't mind. He thrived on the energy around him, finding joy in every task. During lunch breaks, he continued his language sessions, teaching coworkers phrases in Mandarin or French while encouraging them to embrace diversity. His cheerful demeanor and boundless enthusiasm made these sessions feel less like lessons and more like celebrations of culture. Employees who once dreaded foreign assignments now looked forward to them, confident in their ability to connect with people from different backgrounds. Despite his growing responsibilities, Rajiv never lost sight of what mattered most: his authenticity. He refused to let fame change him, staying true to the values he had grown up with. When colleagues praised him for his achievements, he humbly deflected the attention, saying, "I'm just doing my part. We all have something to give." His humility only endeared him further to those around him, strengthening the bonds he had formed. As spring arrived, Rajiv embarked on a new adventure, a speaking tour organized by the nonprofit. For 2 months, he traveled to schools and community centers in various countries, sharing his story and performing songs in multiple languages. Each stop on the tour was unique, yet the reactions were always the same: awe, inspiration, and gratitude. Whether he was singing in a crowded auditorium in Brazil or addressing a small group of students in Kenya, Rajiv's message transcended borders. He reminded audiences that talent alone wasn't enough. Perseverance and self-belief were equally important. One particularly memorable visit took place in a rural town in Mexico. The school there lacked basic facilities, and many students came from families struggling to make ends meet. Despite these challenges, the children greeted Rajiv with wide smiles and eager eyes. After his performance, a boy named Carlos approached him shyly, holding out a handmade guitar. "I made this for you," he said softly. "It's not perfect, but I hope you like it." Rajiv accepted the gift with tears in his eyes, overwhelmed by the gesture. Later that evening, he strummed the guitar as he sang a lullaby in Spanish, his voice mingling with the laughter of the children. It was a moment he would treasure forever. When the tour ended, Rajiv returned home exhausted but fulfilled. He had seen firsthand the impact of his work, witnessed the spark of hope in countless eyes. Yet he knew his journey was far from over. There were still so many places to visit, so many lives to touch. He resolved to keep pushing forward, using his voice and talents to create positive change. Back at the office, Rajiv resumed his duties with renewed vigor. His coworkers noticed a subtle shift in him. He seemed even more radiant, his smile brighter than before. They attributed it to the experiences he had gained during his travels. But Rajiv knew it was something deeper. He had discovered a profound sense of purpose, a realization that his life wasn't just about personal success, but about uplifting others. Arjun, too, observed the transformation in Rajiv. The janitor-turned-cultural ambassador had become a cornerstone of the company, shaping its culture and values in ways no one could have predicted. Under Rajiv's influence, the workplace had transformed into a hub of inclusivity and innovation. Employees from diverse backgrounds felt empowered to share their ideas, knowing they would be valued. Communication barriers diminished, replaced by mutual respect and understanding. Even the company's bottom line benefited, as stronger global partnerships led to increased revenue. To celebrate Rajiv's contributions, Arjun organized a special event at the end of the summer. Dubbed a Night of Unity, the gathering brought together employees, partners, and friends for an evening of music, food, and storytelling. The highlight of the night was Rajiv's performance, where he sang songs representing cultures from around the world. As he switched between languages, the audience joined in, clapping and swaying to the rhythm. By the time he finished, the room erupted into applause, echoing long after the final note faded. That night, as Rajiv stood on stage basking in the warmth of the crowd's appreciation, he reflected on how far he had come. From sweeping floors in silence to standing under bright lights, sharing his gifts with the world, his journey had been nothing short of extraordinary. Yet, through it all, one thing remained constant: his belief in the power of music and language to unite people. It was a belief that had guided him through every challenge, every triumph, and every moment in between. As the event drew to a close, Arjun stepped onto the stage to present Rajiv with a plaque commemorating his achievements. "Rajiv," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "you've taught us that greatness isn't defined by titles or positions. It's about making a difference, no matter where you start. Thank you for being an inspiration to us all." Rajiv accepted the plaque with a humble smile, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Thank you, sir," he replied softly. "But the real credit goes to all of you for believing in me and supporting me every step of the way." The applause that followed was thunderous, a testament to the love and admiration Rajiv had earned. As he left the stage, surrounded by cheering colleagues and friends, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment. His journey had been challenging, unpredictable, and rewarding in equal measure. And though he knew there would be more hurdles ahead, he faced them with unwavering optimism. After all, Rajiv had learned that greatness wasn't about perfection. It was about persistence, passion, and the courage to keep singing, no matter who was listening. As autumn settled in, painting the world with hues of orange and gold, Rajiv's life continued to unfold in ways that felt both extraordinary and surreal. His days were a whirlwind of activity, teaching workshops, mentoring colleagues, traveling for speaking engagements, and still finding time to clean the office floors each evening. Despite the busyness, Rajiv approached everything with a sense of purpose. He had come to understand that his journey wasn't just about him. It was about the ripple effect of his actions, the lives he touched, and the doors he opened for others. One crisp morning, as Rajiv prepared for another day at work, Arjun called him into his office. The CEO looked unusually serious, which made Rajiv nervous. "Is something wrong, sir?" he asked hesitantly, clutching the notebook he always carried with him. Arjun shook his head and gestured for Rajiv to sit down. "No, nothing's wrong," he said with a small smile. "In fact, quite the opposite. I've been thinking about your impact on the company and beyond, and I believe it's time we take things to the next level." Rajiv frowned, unsure of what Arjun meant. "The next level, sir?" Arjun nodded, leaning forward in his chair. "Yes, your story has inspired so many people, but there's still so much more you can do. What if we created a foundation in your name, a platform dedicated to promoting education, cultural exchange, and the power of music to unite people?" Rajiv stared at Arjun, stunned. "A foundation? For me?" he repeated, his voice barely above a whisper. Arjun chuckled softly. "Not just for you, for everyone who believes in the values you represent. You've shown us that talent and hard work can overcome any obstacle. Now let's share that message with the world." The idea took some getting used to. Rajiv had never imagined having an entire organization built around his name. He worried that it might seem too grandiose, too self-centered. But as he thought about it, he realized that the foundation could be a way to amplify the causes he cared about most. It wasn't about him. It was about creating opportunities for others, just as he had been given a chance to shine. With Arjun's guidance, Rajiv agreed to move forward with the project. Over the next few months, the foundation came to life. Named Harmonia Global, it focused on 3 key areas: education, language learning through music, and cross-cultural collaboration. The company provided initial funding, but soon donations poured in from employees, partners, and even strangers who had been moved by Rajiv's story. Harmonia Global quickly gained traction, launching programs in schools, organizing international exchange initiatives, and hosting events that celebrated diversity. Rajiv became the face of the foundation, traveling to inaugurate projects and speak at conferences around the world. Each trip brought new experiences and challenges. In Japan, Rajiv visited a school where children performed traditional dances, alongside modern songs he had taught them. In Germany, he met a group of teenagers who had formed a multilingual choir inspired by his performances. Everywhere he went, he saw how music and language could break down barriers, fostering connections between people who might otherwise never have interacted. These moments reinforced his belief in the foundation's mission and fueled his determination to keep pushing forward. Back home, Rajiv remained deeply involved with the office community. Though his role had expanded significantly, he refused to distance himself from his coworkers. He still attended team meetings, offered advice to young interns, and joined casual conversations during coffee breaks. His presence served as a constant reminder that success didn't mean leaving others behind. It meant lifting them up along the way. One afternoon, while leading a language workshop, Rajiv noticed a shy intern sitting quietly in the corner. She introduced herself as Anjali, a recent college graduate who had joined the company's marketing team. "I wanted to thank you, Rajiv, sir," she said timidly. "Your story gave me courage to apply here. I didn't think someone like me could ever belong in a place like this." Rajiv smiled warmly, recalling his own insecurities when he first started as a janitor. "Anjali, don't ever doubt yourself. You belong wherever you choose to be. Just keep working hard and stay true to who you are." Anjali's words stayed with Rajiv long after the workshop ended. They reminded him of the countless individuals who struggled with self-doubt, who needed someone to tell them they were capable of greatness. It motivated him to redouble his efforts with the foundation, ensuring that its programs reached as many people as possible. He also began mentoring young professionals within the company, sharing insights from his journey and encouraging them to pursue their passions fearlessly. As winter approached, Rajiv received an invitation that filled him with both pride and humility. A prestigious university had asked him to deliver the keynote address at their annual convocation ceremony. Standing on stage before hundreds of graduates, their caps and gowns forming a sea of color, Rajiv felt a surge of emotion. He thought back to his own childhood, the dreams he once dared not speak aloud, and how far he had come since then. Today, you stand at the threshold of endless possibilities, he began, his voice steady yet filled with warmth. You may feel uncertain about the future, but let me tell you something. I've been there. I know what it's like to wonder if you're good enough, if your efforts will ever matter. But here's the truth. It's not about being perfect. It's about persevering even when the odds seem stacked against you. It's about believing in yourself, even when no one else does. He paused, scanning the audience. When I sing, I don't do it for applause or recognition. I do it because it brings me joy, because it connects me to people across languages and cultures. Find what makes your heart sing and hold on to it tightly. Let it guide you through the toughest times. And remember, greatness isn't reserved for a select few. It's within all of us, waiting to be discovered. By the time Rajiv finished speaking, the auditorium was filled with thunderous applause. Students rose to their feet, cheering and wiping away tears. Many lined up afterward to shake his hand, thanking him for his inspiring words. One graduate, a young man named Rohan, handed Rajiv a folded piece of paper. "This is for you," he said, his voice trembling with emotion. Inside was a note that read, "Thank you for reminding me that my dreams are worth fighting for. I'll carry your words with me wherever I go." That night, as Rajiv sat alone in his apartment, he unfolded the note and read it again. Each word resonated deeply, reminding him why he did what he did. It wasn't about fame or accolades. It was about making a difference, however small, in the lives of others. He thought about all the people he had met along the way, the students, the teachers, the strangers who had shared their stories with him. Together, they had created a tapestry of hope and resilience, woven together by shared struggles and triumphs. The following weeks were a blur of activity as Rajiv juggled his responsibilities at work, his travels with the foundation, and personal commitments. Despite the demands, he found moments of peace in simple pleasures, humming a tune while cleaning, sipping tea on his balcony, or writing letters to fans who reached out to him. These quiet interludes grounded him, reminding him of the beauty in everyday life. As the year drew to a close, Rajiv reflected on everything he had accomplished. From being an unnoticed janitor to becoming a global advocate for education and unity, his journey had been nothing short of remarkable. Yet he knew there was still much to be done. The world was vast and the need for connection and understanding was greater than ever. He vowed to continue using his voice, not just to sing, but to inspire, to teach, and to heal. On New Year's Eve, Rajiv stood on the rooftop of his building, watching fireworks light up the sky. Beside him stood Arjun, who had become not just a boss, but a friend. "What are you thinking about?" Arjun asked, handing him a cup of hot chocolate. Rajiv smiled, his eyes twinkling with the reflection of the fireworks. "I'm thinking about how lucky I am," he replied. "And how much more I want to give back." Arjun nodded, his expression thoughtful. "You've already given so much, Rajiv. But I think that's the mark of true greatness. You never stop striving to make the world better." Rajiv chuckled softly, raising his cup in a toast. To making the world better, then. One song, one word, one person at a time. As the clock struck midnight, signaling the start of a new year, Rajiv felt a renewed sense of purpose. His journey had been unpredictable, filled with highs and lows, triumphs and challenges. But through it all, he had remained steadfast in his belief that everyone had the potential to shine, if only they believed in themselves. And as long as he had breath in his body and a song in his heart, Rajiv knew he would keep spreading that message, touching lives and lighting up the darkest corners of the world. As the new year unfolded, Rajiv found himself reflecting on the incredible path he had traveled. Each day seemed to bring a fresh challenge or opportunity, yet he faced them all with the same quiet determination that had defined him since childhood. His mornings began early, often before sunrise, as he prepared for another busy day, balancing his roles at the company and with Harmonia Global. Despite the demands of his schedule, Rajiv never lost sight of the joy that had driven him from the start, connecting with people through music and language. One chilly February morning, Rajiv received an email that made his heart skip a beat. It was from a school in South Africa, one of the first institutions to benefit from Harmonia Global's programs. The principal wrote to share how the foundation's efforts had transformed their community. Children who once struggled to express themselves were now fluent in multiple languages, using songs to bridge gaps between cultures. "Your work has given our students wings," the principal wrote. "They dream bigger now thanks to you." Rajiv read the message several times, each word filling him with warmth and pride. He forwarded it to Arjun, who responded almost immediately. "This is why we started Harmonia," Arjun wrote, "because of moments like this." Together they decided to visit the school later in the year, eager to see firsthand the impact of their work. For Rajiv, the trip represented more than just another milestone. It was a chance to witness the tangible results of his vision coming to life. In the months leading up to the visit, Rajiv threw himself into preparations for the foundation's upcoming projects. Harmonia Global was expanding rapidly, launching initiatives in underserved communities across Asia, Africa, and South America. Local volunteers stepped forward to help, inspired by Rajiv's story and the foundation's mission. These grassroots efforts ensured that every program was tailored to meet the unique needs of its participants, fostering genuine connections and lasting change. Back at the office, Rajiv continued to inspire those around him. Employees looked to him not only as a leader, but also as a friend and mentor. His ability to blend humility with confidence made him approachable, someone people could trust. During team meetings, he often shared anecdotes from his travels, emphasizing the importance of empathy and collaboration. "We're stronger together," he would say, his voice steady and sincere. "When we listen to each other, we learn things we never thought possible." His influence extended beyond formal settings. On weekends, Rajiv organized informal gatherings, where co-workers could come together to sing, dance, or simply enjoy one another's company. These events became a highlight for many, offering a break from the pressures of work while strengthening bonds within the team. Even Arjun joined in occasionally, laughing as he attempted to keep up with Rajiv's energetic moves during impromptu dance sessions. By spring, Rajiv was ready to embark on his journey to South Africa. Accompanied by a small group from the foundation, including Arjun, he arrived at the school filled with anticipation. The moment they stepped onto the grounds, they were greeted by a chorus of voices, singing a song Rajiv recognized instantly. It was one he had taught during a video session months earlier. Tears welled up in his eyes as he watched the children perform, their faces glowing with excitement and pride. After the performance, Rajiv addressed the crowd, thanking everyone for their hard work and dedication. "You've shown me what true resilience looks like," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "And I'm honored to be part of your journey." Later, as he walked through the classrooms and met with teachers and students, he realized something profound. The foundation wasn't just changing lives, it was creating a ripple effect, inspiring others to pay it forward. The trip reinforced Rajiv's commitment to his mission. Upon returning home, he worked tirelessly to expand Harmonia Global's reach, ensuring that no community was left behind. Donations poured in from individuals and corporations alike, moved by stories of transformation shared by beneficiaries. The foundation's website featured testimonials from students, parents and educators, painting a vivid picture of hope and progress. Summer brought another unexpected twist, an invitation to perform at a global summit focused on education and cultural exchange. Speakers included world leaders, activists, and innovators, all united by a shared goal of building a better future. When Rajiv took the stage, the audience erupted into applause, chanting his name. He began with a song in 9 languages, seamlessly transitioning between Hindi, Spanish, French, German, Italian, Mandarin, Japanese, Russian, and English. The melody resonated deeply, transcending barriers and uniting strangers in a moment of pure connection. Afterward, Rajiv delivered a speech that left the audience spellbound. "Music and language are bridges," he said, his voice clear and powerful. "They remind us that we're not so different after all. No matter where we come from, we all share the same hopes, fears, and dreams. Let's use these tools to build a world where everyone belongs." His words echoed long after he left the stage, sparking conversations that continued late into the night. As autumn approached, Rajiv celebrated 5 years since the fateful evening when Arjun stumbled upon him singing in the hallway. To mark the occasion, the company hosted a special event honoring Rajiv's contributions. Employees past and present gathered to share memories, laughter, and gratitude. One by one, they stood to speak, recounting how Rajiv had touched their lives in ways large and small. Some spoke of his kindness, others of his wisdom, and many of his unwavering belief in their potential. Arjun concluded the evening with a heartfelt tribute. "Rajiv has taught us that greatness isn't about titles or positions," he said, his voice trembling with emotion. "It's about making a difference, no matter where you start. Tonight, we celebrate not just his achievements, but the spirit of possibility he has instilled in all of us." As the room erupted into applause, Rajiv rose to his feet, humbled and grateful. Looking back on everything he had accomplished, Rajiv felt a deep sense of fulfillment. From sweeping floors in silence to standing under bright lights, sharing his gifts with the world, his journey had been nothing short of extraordinary. Yet he knew it wasn't over. There were still countless lives to touch, stories to tell, and songs to sing. And as long as there was breath in his body, Rajiv vowed to keep moving forward, spreading hope and unity wherever he went. On a crisp winter morning, as snow blanketed the city, Rajiv stood on the rooftop of the office building, gazing at the horizon. Beside him stood Arjun, who had become not just a colleague, but a dear friend. "What's next for you?" Arjun asked, his tone laced with curiosity. Rajiv smiled, his eyes twinkling with determination. "Whatever comes my way," he replied. "I'll keep singing, keep teaching, and keep believing in the power of connection. Because that's what keeps me going." As the sun rose higher, casting golden light over the city, Rajiv felt a renewed sense of purpose. His journey had been unpredictable, marked by challenges and triumphs, doubts and discoveries. But through it all, he had remained steadfast in his belief that everyone had the potential to shine, if only they believed in themselves. And as he stood there, surrounded by the beauty of the world and the warmth of friendship, Rajiv knew he would continue lighting up the darkest corners, one song, one word, one person at a time,